the session. So if anybody can't make it, I give you guys access to it so that you can look back on what we spoke about. So tell us a little bit about your puppy. How old is he? What breed he is, and what you like from puppy class, just so that we all get to know.
Yeah. Well, she's 18 weeks old, and she's called Pepper.
Oh, hello.
She is. She's currently looking for treats. So she's a working Cocker Spaniel, and there's a couple of different things that I'd like to learn. But the main one, which obviously, as you said in your video, that we've been working on is recall. Yes. So she's doing really well with recall. She seems to be a bit of a natural with it because she's got a big drive for food. Mm-hmm. So she'll do anything for food.
Brilliant.
But the other things that we'd like to work on is just general sort of obedience to sort of keep her safe and make her a sort of a nice member of society. So work on not unsociable barking and things like that.
Yeah, brilliant. Great. So I'm pleased you're really working on recall, particularly with the working lines, working cockers, because the DNA will kick in a little bit later on when they're adolescents, and she'll be quite keen to chase pheasants, rabbits, and any sort of kind of things like that. That goes for all doggies, really, but much more if they have a bit of working in them. So it's only your recall that's going to get you out of those situations. So it's really good that you keep practicing that. How's little Nova doing this week?
She's good, yeah. We did have a question to ask about how to help her learn to greet other dogs a bit more nicely. She gets a bit too overexcited and jumps in their face, and then they don't want to see her, and it's nice for anyone, I think.
Yeah. This is all other doggies rather than people.
Yeah, she's starting to get the hang of it with people sometimes. Oh, hello, as she's demonstrating right now.
And I got to round this week.
But yeah, mainly with other dogs.
Yeah, so what happens, because she's quite a sensitive little girl, because I've met her, obviously. What she's trying to do, does she go up to their faces and try to lick them?
Yeah, licking and just like generally jumping up around them. And if she's on the lead, I worry sometimes because she once jumped and then kind of, because she was on the lead, flipped back and landed on her back, and so it's just all a bit chaotic.
Yeah. Okay, a really good trick I find is when you're meeting other dogs, or when they're meeting other dogs, is it just depends a little bit on the other dog. If you're on the, generally in it's because we're in lockdown, but what will happen once you're out of lockdown is she will meet so many doggies that they won't be that exciting, so she won't get herself. She's just being very submissive about trying to get to their face and licking and being a puppy. But what I find works really well is, especially if they're on lead, is to drop some treats on the floor. That may or may not work. It just really does depend on how close you are to the other doggy. So you can either put a little bit of distance between you and the other doggy, so it's not so exciting, and then just drop treats on the floor, so she focuses on the floor rather than focusing on them. And then, so you walk her on a little harness, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and is that when she flipped, when she was on the harness? Yeah, okay. Usually they're on a harness, they tend to flip a little bit less. But what you could do is you can also hold her. Just go down to her and hold her so that she's not jumping up. So you could still almost kind of control. If you can move her forward a little bit with your hands, or move her back. Now that she's young, so that she's not, because what it is dogs don't like other dogs jumping on them. So as long as she's just kind of going there trying to lick them but not actually going on them, it'll be fine. So you can just restrain her. And how I like to train my dogs is, I'll show you a little bit, and this is something I kind of put on one of the videos on. Did you all manage to get to the videos on the YouTube? I don't know if you did.
I've seen the email, I've not watched it yet.
Not yet, yeah. So on the YouTube, oh, there's Sheila. Sorry, let me just admit Sheila. There we go. There we go. So I'll just wait till Sheila joins us. And
sorry, I don't know. I've been standing for 20 minutes trying to get online. I don't know what happened. Anyway,
no, it was my fault, Sheila. I deleted the last week. I messed up the meeting, and then when I set up a new one, it had a password, and that's probably why you couldn't get in.
I'm here now.
Yeah, sorry, my fault completely. Apologies. So we were just saying how to greet other dogs nicely, some little tips on how to get your doggy. Because of lockdown, they're not meeting as many dogs, and therefore it's all very exciting when there is another dog. So I was just going to show you, there's a couple of things. One is just drop treats on the floor so that they focus on the floor and maybe make distance between you and the other dog. And the other one is just to restrain your dog a little bit so that, well, as long as the other dog is on lead, so that your puppy is not jumping on you. Obviously a bit tricky for Monty, big Monty, because he's a bit bigger. But what I tend to do, there's two flat coats there, is so I tend to just restrain my dog. So just hold the chest. If you just do that, you can get down on the floor with them, and it means that you can just hold the chest like this, and if they want to go forward, you can let them go forward, or you can pull them back. But the best way is to just hold that chest, because you can really control the dog by holding their little chest like that. And then as they get older, and you get to meet more doggies, then other dogs won't be as excited as well. Does that help?
Yeah.
And there was another question as well about how to teach your dog not to jump up at people. Do any of you guys have that problem?
Yes.
Of course.
I would imagine you do. So one of the things I do, and again, we do this in class, but we don't have a class. So I need to just show you now. Let me just grab a lead for my dog and I'll show you. Well, you can do two things. Start with your puppy at home. This is quite a jumpy dog. So what I do with him is I get some treats. So start at home on the concept that not to jump up. So, and if you have kids, this is what you do. So you get them really hyped up. And then just stand there, really still. And then when they offer you a sit, which they will eventually, if you stand really still, just reward. Then if they jump up, nothing. But then you can wave your arms around like this. And then when they offer you the sit, but I'm not saying anything to the dog, I'm just wagging my hands. This is not going to give them a treat. There we go. And then if he sits, I just give it. So he has to work out in his own mind what to do. Then I start again. I've got treats here. This is a particularly jumpy dog because he's a flat coat. But I'm not telling him off or anything like that. I'm kind of creating the situation at home to get him wound up. Because this is what people do when they feed your dog. Or if I don't say anything, I can actually prompt this sit. Sit. Good boy. And then wiggle my arms. And then give them a treat. And wiggle my arms again, get excited, and then give them a treat for not jumping up. Wiggle my arms again. So you're kind of creating what people would do. Oh my God, what a cute dog. And then you can start to get exciting, and then just reward the sit. Start to move around a bit, and then that gets him going. Oh, sorry, I was also teaching him to jump when I jump, so I can't really jump. That's another trick. But yeah, do this at home, and then just get really exciting, but reward if he can control himself. Obviously, he's older. And then when you're out on walks, what you then want to do is, so you'll have the dog on lead. And because ideally what you want to do, but this never really happens, is if there's someone, ask the person to ignore the dog until it sits, and you'll be having really nice treats, getting your dog sitting, and then just rewarding, because if they're sitting, they're not jumping up. But what will happen is people will say, oh, I love puppies, and they'll come up to you and completely ignore you, and the dog will jump up, and the dog thinks that actually jumping up is a great thing because people get really excited if I jump up. Or especially if you say, get down, anything like that you don't want to do. So what I do is you literally, let me go back a bit, you drop the lead and just step on it, just so that you can see. Literally, if somebody comes, I'll drop the lead, step on the lead nice and short. You can see how short that lead is, so that if he does jump, which I'm going to prompt him to jump now, he can't actually put paws on, oh, I'm not doing it, on your paws, but literally that's what you do. You quickly drop the lead, step on it, and then people can come up and wind your dog up or everything, but he can't physically jump up at them. So, and that's the nice thing about it, because if you hold the lead up here, they can still jump up. Whereas if you hold it down here, the pressure of the lead will stop their neck going up, and then that'll stop the jumping up as well. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Particularly important, maybe not so much for little Monty, but basically everybody else's dogs. Yeah, you'll find once you get out of lockdown, people and other dogs are going to be really, really exciting. So they're going to jump up a lot. But that's how you do it. Literally just drop the lead and step on it. And then as they get older and they meet loads more people, they won't be in the habit. You can just prompt them to sit and give them treats. And when we get together after lockdown, we're going to do a lot of this practicing face to face. Basically, as people come together, you will ask them to sit, give them treats, move on to the next person. And what that does is the dog, because dogs are very contextual, they'll learn that whenever somebody comes near them, they're going to be asked to sit down. So they'll preempt it, and sometimes if you're really, really good, 100%, they will just do it automatically. Basically, they'll see someone coming that way, they say, all right, this is where I sit and get lots of treats. But the trick is you've got to take treats with you, because you've got to trump the excitement of the other person. So always have something better when they're puppies, until you can get the habits going. Once the habit's there, you don't need to treat so much. Any other questions from this week? Has little Big Monty gotten on?
I've been like a woman obsessed with him going down.
Ah, brilliant! Did you get it?
Well, shall we see?
Ah, okay, cool. We'll get there. Anything else? Any other, has he been all right otherwise, Big Monty? Oh, I think
Labs and Castle Grounds is full of other dogs, so actually from the socialisation point of view, he's been quite lucky. Brilliant,
yeah. And I was going to say that if you guys want to socialise your doggies, Castle Grounds tend to have nice dogs there. Generally, I can't say it 100%. Castle Grounds in Deddington, and if you want to know the link, I can send you the link where it is. Or Stoke Woods, in going from Deddington to Bicester. There's Stoke Woods there, and again there's a car park, and most people really, the main aim of Stoke Woods generally is to go walk the dog. So people are quite happy with your dog to be off lead and meet other dogs. That's generally the feeling there, because in a lot of parks and places people don't want, quite rightly, you know, and you have to respect that, don't want loosely dogs to come up to them because they're fearful of maybe they can transmit the disease or something, although it's not been proven. But nonetheless, Stokewood is quite good because, again, they can do this in the city. So yeah, if you want to carry on with the socialization, certainly with dogs anyway, you can do that. Try. It's so tricky at the password. Okay. So your homework was to get your puppy to learn to follow your hands into different positions. So this week you've been using loads of treats. I'm just going to show you. There we go. And you can, ideally, you have it, so you've done loads and loads of that. They're quite happy. Just to think of your dog's nose as a magnet. Wherever your hand goes, the nose follows. There we go. Okay, so have a little go at that. Let me just see how you'll be getting on with that. See if you can lure them into the sit, down, and stand.
Can you see me?
Right, let's have a look. Big Monty. Nice. Really good.
So slow eating.
Stop.
Good. Good. Let's have a look at little Monty.
Come on, sit. It's half asleep. Unfortunately, it's half asleep because it's shuttered. 15 minutes and he's shuttered.
Oh, little baby puppy.
You did it yesterday.
I'll give you a little couple of minutes just to keep practicing. Let's have a little look at Nova.
Good job. Stand.
Beautiful. That's really good. And what about Pepper? Can she do her sit down and stand?
Yes. Let me just try and get the camera right because I'm on my phone. Next week I'll do the iPad, so I'll try and show you. I'm just going to reverse the camera.
Yeah.
As I said, Pepper likes food.
Great. We want her. You're a winner.
So she will do anything. And the amazing thing is, Pepper just likes any food. So this is just her puppy biscuits that she will do anything for.
Perfect. Perfect. And actually at home, this is what you want to do. You want to grab your puppy's dinner, if you can, or food, and just put it in your pockets. And during the day, just practicing little sits, down, stands. That's fantastic. Okay, so
we've come to the point. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, once I taught her how to sit, she actually now sits just in case I'll give her something. So she'll follow me around and sit.
Excellent. And that's what you want. You want to be asking your puppy to do lots of sitting, particularly out and about. So that becomes the default behavior. So if they're not too sure what to do, a sit will always give them a treat. Because, of course, if they're sitting and they're not jumping up, they're not doing anything that perhaps they shouldn't be doing. If you have food with you all the time and they sit, that's absolutely perfect. That's a great habit. All we're doing with puppy training is creating really nice habits. So that's a superb habit to have. How's little Monty doing? Did he go down?
I did it.
Oh, let's have a look, Monty.
Down. Good down. Good down.
Boy.
Good girl.
He looks so
Down. Good down.
Down, down, down. Yay!
Okay, let's have a quick look at Big Monty again.
I'm done.
Ooh, Monty is already down.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I told you you'd get there at the end.
Big Monty.
I have persisted. I've been like a mad woman.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's what it's all about. Good. Okay, so this week we're going to move them on. And remember, you've got a whole lifetime to train your dog. So don't worry if your dog takes a little bit longer or not. But this week we're going to try and move it so that we're only having to do a hand sit. So we're going to reduce, in fact, we're going to get rid of food in our hands this week. And I like to get rid of food in our hands quite quickly so that I can move hand signals so that the dog understands that it's doing a behavior for a treat rather than following treats. Initially, we always use them to follow treats, but later on, we want them to start to think a little bit more, and that's kind of where proper obedience comes. So what I want you to practice now for the next few minutes, I'll show you with my dog, is initially, so you're going to do it down and stand. Initially, you're going to have a treat in your hand. Here we go. So I've got a treat there, and I'm going to lure him down and give him a treat. Now this time, the second time, I'm not going to have a treat, but I'm going to have a treat in my hand. So I'm just going to bring that up a bit because you can't see my hand very well. So there we go. I'm going to pretend to have a treat.
Good down.
And then I'm going to bring it down. And as soon as the dog goes down, I'm rewarding with the other hand. So here we go again. So pretend to go down. And then as soon as the dog goes down, reward with the other hand. What the dogs will do is they will go down and then realize, oh my God, there's no food. And they'll be looking for the food and not go down. But just keep persevering and then reward with the other hand. So give that a go now. So have a treat in first time, and then the second time pretend to have a treat, but don't actually have a treat. Have a little go at practicing that now.
Yeah, he's not stupid.
Yeah, that's usually what you get.
Yeah, well.
If he doesn't want to do it, go ahead and go back with the treat again, just to get him, to remind him. Good, and then use it. Yeah. Good girl, little Nova. Brilliant.
Down. Down.
Yeah.
Down. He's not stupid. Good boy.
Good girl with Nova. Very nice. How about little Monty?
Sit. Down. Sit. Down. Sit. Oh, it looks very disappointing.
Don't worry, it's a difficult concept at first to get. But once they get it, once they understand, nice with Pepper, once they understand that if they do the behavior, they will get the treat. But it is the hardest bit to do, is to get rid of food. Nice with Pepper, she's doing that really well. Well done with Monty.
Good boy.
Good.
See, my other dog does it without treats.
Yeah.
Right, let's come.
Good.
He always gets a treat.
Good. Nice. So see with little Monty, if you can actually get him to go down. I know he's a little bit because it's slippy. I wonder if you have like a vet bed or something you can put down so he doesn't slip backwards with little Monty.
Yeah, we tried that. Michael put his hand under his bottom to stop going, slide backwards. He eventually does sit down. It's just lie down. But he's very good at sitting, so we don't have to remind him to sit all the time. He does it quite easily in a way. It's just sliding down that it's a bit weird, because it's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, he's probably quite tired from his walk anyway as well, isn't he? Very good. That's great. So you don't have to use food with Nova either, have you? She seems to do it without food now. Good. Okay, brilliant. So your homework for this week, I'll pin my video again, is to make sure you can, and just keep practicing. So if your dog won't do it, just show them a treat, but see if you can start to do less with treats, so that you really are going to get to the stage where you'll be able to just, eventually what we want to do is to just be able to do a hand signal and he goes down. See, there's no food here. and our reward here, so that you don't always have to have food and you can just give the command to the dog. And that's hopefully what we'll get to in week 6. But for this week, I want you to just pretend to lure again. Boy, I'm going to reward Joey for not pestering. So I'm going to again pretend to have the food. There is no food. So this week you are pretending, but just rewarding with the other hand, and then move it at the next level on next week. But see if you can get your doggy to follow your hand, but without food. Okay, the next thing we're going to do this week is to, oh, actually the meeting's about to end in 1 second because you only get 40 minutes. So let's move on to part 2 of the meeting, the scheduled meeting, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to teach them what the leave it command is. And again, if you look at the YouTube video, because we can't do it face to face, sometimes I spend a little bit longer on it. So have a look at YouTube because it gives you in quite a lot of detail how to do it. But we're going to have a little practice of now. So leave it means take your face away from whatever it is that you want. So it could be a treat, it could be a dog, it could be a person. I don't tend to use it for dogs or people until they're much, much older, because if you do, you start to shout leave it and it becomes really negative. Any command you give to your dog must not be, you know, you don't need to intimidate your dog into it. You can just give a nice calm command, and as long as you trained it, they know what to do. So it's just about showing the dog what to do, what leave it really means. And leave it is a really, really, really nice behavior. I love it. And actually I make it into a trick because it teaches them self-control. Now, I don't know if you remember from week 1, I said 90% of problems come from a lack of self-control. So by teaching them tricks and leave it and things like that in a nice positive way, they're learning that self-control of you can't have what you want immediately. You have to wait for it, and then you will get it. You are definitely going to get it, but you got to do something for it. So I'll show you how we do leave it, and we're all going to have a little practice of that. So let's have a dog. There's a dog there. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to have a treat. Okay, so you want to have a treat in your hand, and you're going to say leave it only once, and you're going to say it really, really nicely. You're not going to shout, you're not going to intimidate them, nothing like that. So there's an open hand, and before I present it to the dog, because if I just present it, that means you can have it. So before I present it, I'm going to say leave it. You can say off, you can say leave, you can say whatever you want, as long as you say the same thing over again. So here it is, treat, leave. And once he stops trying to get it, good boy, he can have it. So I'll do that again, leave. Now if he tries to get it, you can close your hand. And then eventually, leave. Good boy. As soon as he stops trying to get it, he can have it, leave. Good boy. And then slowly move your hand lower and lower, but spend a lot of time at this stage. Leave. Good boy. Leave. Good boy. So I'm only saying it once. He has to make the decision to leave it, to then get it. And eventually you'll be able to then go lower and lower. Leave. If they try to get it, you can close your hand. Leave. 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 Good boy. So you can put it on the floor, but be ready to put your hand on it because they'll try to get it because they think once on the floor it's theirs. Leave. Leave. So I'll be ready with my hand there if he tries to get it. Now notice I'm always giving the treat to the dog. He's never allowed to get it himself, because if you teach them, a lot of people do leave and then take it. If you do and take it, all you're doing is you're having a dog waiting to take it, and then they tend to go and get it. Whereas leave for me means leave that fish and chips on the floor, leave those leg pellets, leave the dead mice, that they're never going to get it unless I give it to them. And your homework is to get your dog to leave a treat on its paw. So you'll be working slowly, leave, a bit closer, and then give it to them, as long as they don't try to get it. Leave, a bit closer. Until you can put it on the paw. Leave.
Even a 4.5-month-old black lab.
They can all do it. Honestly, when I say this, most people say, what? But yeah, you'll be doing it. And actually, what's really nice about this behavior, one is it's super important, but two, because you can turn it into a trick of leaving the treats on the paw. It's one thing that you show your friends and you do a lot and you have great fun with, but it's a great life skill. So have a little go at that now. I want to make sure you can all do it all right. So start from the top and get your dog to leave it.
Leave it.
Good with little Monty. Nice.
Leave it. Off.
Okay.
Off. Leave it.
Good with big Monty. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good with Nova.
Sit.
Beautiful with Nova. That's perfect. See little Pepper.
Leave.
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 Yeah.
Nice.
Leave. Oh.
Lovely.
Leave.
Beautiful.
Leave. Leave.
Leave.
Leave.
Yeah.
Excellent. Really good with big Monty.
Leave.
And this is a great exercise for little Monty because if he's a little bit prone to bark to get what he wants for attention, this is a really nice one for him to learn to just that he's not going to get it when he wants. This is a nice exercise to say, no, you'll get it when you leave it.
Yeah.
Good boy.
That's it. Good. And keep working at it. Give it a keep go. Good. You're all doing really well.
Leave. Leave.
I don't think that if I leave it on the floor, he's going to ignore it. I think he's just going to go.
No, he will. Just keep at it. At the moment, each dog will have things that they find things difficult. Monty will find this. Little Monty will find this the hardest. So just keep trying. This is the one that you'll probably need to work on the most as well. Teach him that little bit of self-control. But yeah, they're all doing really well. Nice with big Monty as well. He's grown. He's gone up like big time, hasn't he? This week. Wow.
Leave.
Good boy.
Beautiful with Pepper. She really gets it. That's really nice. Brilliant. Okay, so so that's your homework for this week. By the end of next week, well, by next Sunday, you should be able to put a treat on your dog's paw, and they leave it, and it's brilliant. And the other thing is, if your dog is really good, if you do lots of training, you might be able to do one treat on each paw, which is even better. Have a look at the video, because if your dog is doing really well and is quite ahead of the game, and as I said, it doesn't matter what stage, as long as you get to a certain stage, you can make it harder and harder. So on the video in the YouTube, you can see how leave it, we can progress it to really adult type leaves. So just push your puppy. But for next week, see if you can all have a treat on your puppy's paw and they leave it, which is going to be great fun. The other thing we're going to do is loose lead walking. So this is the big one. So you know your most important command is recall. And hopefully you're all practicing lots of recall out and about. You're playing with your dog. Recall means we're going to have a party. Recall does not mean get away from there or come away from that or a negative thing. You're always going to be doing lots of lovely little recalls. And let the dog off lead as much as you possibly can, as long as it's safe. So if it's a safe environment, just leave them off lead, because people that never put their dogs off lead never get to practice the recall, and then by the time they become an adolescent and the dog is really running around and not wanting to listen to you because they grow little horns and they become a real nightmare, they won't be conditioned to just come automatically. So what you want to do is keep yo-yoing your dog backwards and forwards all the time. Don't let them get beyond 10 meters. Get them into that routine of constantly going backwards and forwards for a treat, for a game, for a toy, for throw the ball, play tuggy, whatever you want to do. Make sure you constantly yo-yo your dog and let it off lead as much as possible, so that you are actually practicing recall. Because if they're on lead, you're never going to practice recall. So then the other thing is loose lead walking. So with loose lead walking, what's happening, dogs love to pull and they want to get to places fast, especially now that they're puppies. They want to investigate the tree and the grass and the person and everything. So they'll be pulling to get to somewhere. And that's perfectly normal. You don't want to be yanking your dog back or anything, particularly with Cocker Spaniels. Once they get the nose down, they really will pull. So in this particular exercise, you will find it with Pepper the hardest one, because this is the one that you're going to have to practice and practice. And there are no shortcuts to loose lead walking. You've got to just do it and do it and do it. So most of the time we need to get from A to B, and we don't have time to keep stopping and repositioning the dog and any of that. So it's really important that you do not let your dog get into the habit of pulling it into its collar, because if your dog learns to go to where it wants to by pulling on the collar, you will find that really, really difficult to undo, because it's learned, it's become a habit for it. It's learned that if I pull and I put my pressure on there, I get to what I want. So if I pull to get to the tree, I get to the tree. So I never, ever, ever let my dogs pull on the collar. However, there's loads of times that I just need to get somewhere. So for that reason, I think I put on your very first email, the Pet Safe Easy Walk harness. So as long as it has a ring on the chest, you can use it. If it has a ring on the back, they tend to pull onto it. But basically, you'll be using the Easy Walk harness to get from A to B when you don't have time to practice loose lead walking. As the dog gets older and has more self-control and it's explored life and things are not so interesting or exciting, then they're going to walk a lot calmer. But for now, don't let them even learn that they can pull on that collar. So then you have time. So what I tend to do is on the way to the walk, I have them on a harness. And on the way back, when they're tired, and then that's when I practice my loose lead walking. When my dog is tired, it's been through the same place, because if you walk back to somewhere where you've already walked, they don't pull or smell so much. They know the area. They've done their investigation. So that's when you want to practice. Set your dog up for success. So, and again, watch the YouTube video so that you could clearly see where I reward. But I'm going to I want to show you here. And if it doesn't quite work out, I'm going to have to go outside with my laptop, but let's see what happens here. There are two tricks with loose lead walking. The first one is, if your dog is really excited and pulls a lot, is to just stand. And this is really hard for me to practice here, because my dog's not going to pull. Just stand like a tree, holding the lead, and wait for your dog to look back. No. What we're trying to teach the dog are two things. Is if there's any pressure on your collar, we're going to stop. Think of yourself as a machine that any pulling turns the off button, the power goes off. And then just let your dog just kind of look at whatever it's looking until eventually says, well, you know, why aren't we moving? They get bored and look back at you. And then you reward that. So you're rewarding the look back every single time. Any pressure on the collar, we stop and you look back. That's part one. Part two is that if you stay on the magic circle, you're going to get a reward. And that's your loose lead walking. Literally, if you stay by my leg, That's where the treats of the vending machine comes out. Now for this, you're going to have to need some really nice treats, because suddenly you're going to have to compete with all the excitement and the smells and people. So this is when you use your liver, your cheese, your ham, tiny treats, half the size of your fingernail. And let me just show you. Let's see if this works. This is the challenging one on lockdown. All the other ones seem to be okay. So what you're doing is always pick a side. So if you don't pick a side, in the bed. If you don't pick a side, then you're going to get a dog that just zigzags from left to right. So I always pick the left side, because if you're going to do any form of competition or sports or anything, left side is the official one. So I start with my dog, and this is something you can do at home. I reward behind my leg, and where you reward, it's really important, because if you reward here, you're going to have a dog that's always going to be in front of you, and you don't want that. You want a dog to be beside you. So whenever you feed, always feed behind your leg. So what I'm going to do, and this is something you can practice at home, take one step, feed behind your leg. Raise your hands, because what I don't want to see is a lot of people just take a treat and just get the dog to follow a treat. Well, the dog, all it's thinking is following a treat. It doesn't know what it's doing for that treat. So I like to have a handful of treats here. Get the dog on my left. So there we are. Lift my hand, take a step. Are you in the magic circle? This is the magic circle. If you're in the magic circle, you get a treat behind my leg. Take another step behind the leg. Another step behind the leg. And then I do this for one step at a time, each time. And you can just do this in the house. And then once your dog, if you can do one step, always work really hard at your fundamentals so that the dog really understands that this is where you're meant to be. And you can see that by feeding, I get a lovely heel position, which is shoulder to leg. Now, once they do that, you can start to take a few steps. So I do a few steps and reward behind my leg. Another few steps and reward behind my leg. And then you can play a game that if the dog, you can just walk around the house, and if the dog is in the magic circle, you just keep feeding. So as long as he stays there, I'm not prompting him. It's his responsibility. So if he's on the right, he moves to his left, then he gets a reward. But always, now if you have a spaniel or a little Monty Dachshund or Nova, you're going to have to reward down here. Because if you reward high, they're going to jump up. So you need to reward, you're going to get a bit of a sore back. You need to reward right by the dog's nose. I'm very lucky because I've got a dog that is just up here. But if you don't, you're going to have to reward down here or up here for Pepper, down here, so that they don't jump up. So remember, reward, lift your hand up. Reward, lift your hand up. I'm going to get you guys to do this. Just do it off lead at home. And it's one of those that I'm probably going to have to correct you quite a bit to make sure you're doing it right. As long as you do it right, the dog will do it. But those little tricks of rewarding behind your leg and lifting your hand up, and then reward every single step. Give that a little go now. Let me just see how you guys do it. That's nice, Nova. Beautiful. Good.
No, you're not sitting, just walk. You're sitting. Okay, this is Nova.
Good. So as soon as you give Monty a treat, just lift your hand back up. Now with little Monty, take a step, but without putting your hand down, and see if you're facing the magic circle. So take a step, and you can tap your leg to encourage him if you want. Just so that he understands, if he follows the leg, he gets a treat. There we are. And then lift your hand as soon as you give him a treat. That's nice with Monty, good. Big Monty, yeah, nice. Lovely with Pepper, good. So once your dog understands that staying in that magic circle, i.e. by your leg, you can now start to take 2 steps and give him a treat. And then maybe 3 steps, or maybe a little bit more, but make sure you keep that hand nice and high near your body, and then keep rewarding. Once you give the treat here, the hand wants to be here close to your body, and then take a step, and then reward the dog, and then hand back up here, because if you have a hand here, you can see the dog's already jumping, or anywhere here, or my hand here. So literally that hand needs to be really nice and close to your body, and then take a step, and then they get a treat. Have a look at the YouTube video, because you can then see it there, and as well you can remind yourself. And if your dog pulls, just stop. Stop, don't say anything, don't lure them back, don't use a treat. Wait for the dog to look back at you, and then when it looks back at you, reward behind your leg. So all the rewards are always coming behind your leg, because what that automatically does is it puts your dog back into position, and it teaches them to stay in that magic circle as well. What's really important is start in the house, like you've been doing today. Teach them where the magic circle is, and then make it fun. See if you can run, and if they stay in the magic circle, give them a treat. Do this in the garden. So do this in areas where you're really training them and they're learning what it's all about, and then move it outside. So go on a walk on your harness on the way out, and on the way back, just keep rewarding your dog for staying in that magic circle. And if it pulls, you stop, wait for it to look back, and then we stay in that magic circle. By staying beside you, your lead is loose by default. So you just put a lead on, obviously, and that's nice and loose. But just teach your dog, because ultimately you want to be able to control your dog's mind. So you don't want to always have them on lead. So when your dog is older, all you have to do is say heel, and they go, oh, I know what heel means. Heel means I go by the left leg, and I stay there for a reward or for a game, or, you know, as they get older, you push them harder and harder for that one treat. When my dogs are really old, I just take a tennis ball with me. They love that, and they know that eventually, if they heel and they stay beside me, they're going to get that ball, or we're going to play tug. They get a treat, whatever they happen to like at the time. But walking is one of those that you need to do lots and lots and lots. And the more you do, the more your dog will do it. It'll just become a pattern of behavior in their brain, and it'll just happen, particularly for Pepper, because her instinct is to really want to pull and sniff and hunt and all of those things. So for you particularly, this is something you got to do a lot of, and just lots of patience. There's actually no shortcut. It's a bit of a nightmare. So I will email you this week's handout. You've all got the link to the YouTube. Remind yourselves. I will also edit this video a little bit so that you don't see me positioning myself all the time. And I'll give you links to that video as well if you want to remind yourself of it. But in any case, if you can save it, then you'll save it there for the future. You can see how cute your puppy was when he was little. Okay, guys, so I will see you virtually next week. We'll see what happens today, what the government says about lockdown. But I have already been thinking about how we can all get together quite safely, as long as everybody's happy. And I think, you know, meeting outside with lots of distance between us in the park, I think it'll work. But I'm just waiting to see what the government says. But believe you me, as soon as I can get us all together outside in a park with lots of distance, I will.